Hi there, my name's Tony. I live and work in and around the Grantham area. Very much my home, very much the centre of the universe for me. And I've decided to make some use of my time by speaking to the Great and Good of Grantham and discussing how they're finding things at the moment and just understanding a little bit more about their businesses and perhaps what they're looking to do once this situation we find ourselves in at the moment is all over. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by the very vibrant Chris England and the very eccentric Matt Lee. They are owners and directors of England's finest photography, PVS, which is Property Video Solutions, and Leo Media, which is more specific to people in and around the Grantham area. They're based at the Old Malthouse on Springfield Road. Hi Chris, hi Matt, how are you?
Hi Tony, how you doing?
How are you? Yeah, very well, thanks my friend, very well.
Good, good, good. So I'll dive straight in. I mean, what do you guys know about Grantham?
Ooh, it's a long list. It's a long. Well, we were both born and raised here, without speaking on Chris's behalf. But schooled in Grantham, and yeah, my mum and dad moved up from London years before, or a couple of years before they had me. I was born in Lincoln for 6 months, and then spent the rest of my life in Grantham, and just loved it. Still got friends, and went away to university, but I moved back, and it's just a great place. I mean, I know sort of to a certain degree everyone loves where they're from, but you know, Grantham, when you scratch under the surface, is really amazing, from schools to parks to, you know, things to do and travel links. So it's amazing. We're a slap bang in the middle of the country business wise, so that's helpful as well. Love it. Yeah.
What about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, well, very, very similar. Matt and I both went to school here, went away to university, came back, and then we both had careers, you know, not working for ourselves, you know, employed. And then setting up business in Grantham was a great thing to do. You know, as Matt rightly says, you know, we're central to the UK. You know, the public amenity is fantastic. You know, the cost of actually doing business in Grantham is relatively low in comparison to outlying towns. So yeah, I mean, it's great. And the thing that I love most about the town, I think, is probably the people. Matt and I benefit from having, you know, lived here and worked here. You know, I used to work for South Kesteven District Council for a number of years in quite a front-facing role. And so the thing that strikes me most is how friendly people are. You know, you would struggle, and I'm sure you find this, Tony, and I know Matt does, you know, to walk from one side of the town to another on a lunch break or at a weekend without bumping into at least half a dozen people that will gladly stop, say hello, have a chat, you know, and that makes, for us, that makes doing business in Grantham really vibrant. You know, we've got some great clients as a result of, you know, just being able to sort of stop and say hello. Sure,
sure. And obviously you have a selection of companies which you're sort of at the forefront of, and obviously we mentioned Leo Media before we started recording. I mean, what is it what can you offer the people of Grantham? What is it your business can do for them?
So Matt and I have been in business individually for, I've had my photography company, England's Finest Photography, which is a lifestyle and commercial photography company, for about 5.5 years. Matt has a production company of his own, AM Media, which he's run for about 10 years. But we started and founded our limited company, Property Video Solutions, and Leo Media in 2017, offering photographic and videographic or film services to business, really. So we work nationwide, you know, with both of those companies. We've got clients everywhere from Edinburgh to Exeter, you know, and everywhere in between. But we effectively offer a high quality visual solution for businesses looking to promote themselves, their products, their people, and or an event or something of that nature. So our studios are fitted with green screen technology. You know, we run a multi-camera film crew. We do professional audio, professional light, professional sound. So yeah, we just make high quality film.
Great stuff, great stuff. And lots of local businesses supporting you in that as well?
Yeah, we've worked with, I mean, it was Chris's sort of original client, but an ex-businessman of the year like Christopher himself. But yeah, Noel Reeves from Rocket Print Promotion, based up on Swingbridge Estate. We've done all sorts. We've done some film work for Gerard's Hairdressers. So it really spans from, you know, sort of big corporates down to smaller, medium-sized businesses. And, and you know, it helps. I mean, like, I mean, we always talk about you, Tony. I mean, I know we've sort of met over the last year or so, but we definitely knew of you before we knew you and shook hands with you pre sort of lockdown, because obviously that's not cool. But we always used to talk. We did some training in Edinburgh, didn't we, Chris? And a lady said to Chris, so if you were going to put your house on the market tomorrow, who would it be with? And Chris said, Tony Ruby. And she said, why? Has he won the most awards, this, that, and the other? He said, no, because everyone knows him. And if he puts a video out on his business or personal channels, then the chances are 5, 10, 15,000 people are going to watch it in the next week or so. So that gives me confidence that he'll be able to sell my house. And yeah, so it's the visibility thing. And yeah, it's just knowing people and wanting to help them out. And then, like you say, if we ever get an inquiry about a house, we'll say, well, go and see Tony Ruby. And that's the beauty of Grantham. It's a big town, granted, but it's quite a small market town when you really think about the size of the high street area. And it's nice that you can recommend local all the time, from garage stores through to, you know, someone who owns Watkins, for example, for a classic Watkins BAP.
Yeah, indeed.
We've got some great clients in Grantham. We've traded nationally, and that's done really well for us. Which has allowed us to recruit and employ locally, which is great. But our local clients are fantastic. Matt mentioned Rocket Print. We also work with Darren at Viking Signs. We're a media partner for Iliffe Media, who own the Grantham Journal and the Stamford Mercury. And we've made their business award film for the past 5 years. Prior to us having our company, I made that, and then we've been making that now for 3 years for the awards nights. We're a partner for a photography partner for Downtown Oldrids. We are well invested within the local community, and if we haven't photographed or filmed a business in Grantham, it would be surprising.
Yeah. And I suppose with the way the modern world is working, as we're talking now, video is becoming more and more essential, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, we think it's been essential for years. It's just been a harder sell. I mean, Chris is a fantastic salesman, and he talks the talk and he walks the walk, and we do that together in terms of what we produce. But it's one of those. It's good to be local and shop local, and I think the need for video has enhanced also the need to maybe support local businesses, because people aren't traveling far and wide. And I don't know whether you saw the program on Amazon behind the scenes last night, and it's just not true that everything's cheaper online or everything's better quality online nowadays. And having video reviews and real people saying to you this, that, and the other, hopefully it's coming back round to, I mean, we're old enough and long enough in the tooth, all three of us, to remember how busy Grantham Market was on a Saturday.
Do you remember the Pot Man?
It's Paddy, I think.
In the 90s, the Pot Man.
Yeah.
Meat guy used to be shouting out his meat wagon.
And
every week.
He's the Pot Man with his auctions.
Yeah. And that's what video can give you, Tony. I think if you can get your face in front of a local audience and tell them genuinely what you've got to help them out, not to like rip them off, but to help them out, and then people will respond to that. And never has been a bigger time for the use of video at the minute. I mean, like say Facebook said that their views on videos are up 60%, and they were already outweighing YouTube on video views as a platform. So people, granted, it's because they're stuck in the garden or stuck in the house, but I think this is a great platform for people who don't do video. And it's not to say taking food out of our mouths, like don't use us if possible, make your own content, and we can help you out with various aspects. But I think it's highlighted the necessity for video, because it's such a real tangible thing. So
it allows you to be able to create content that's specific. It wants to be engaging and interesting, doesn't it? But it doesn't want to be, I think anybody likes to be sold to. I think people want to be helped, guided, advised. What can you do to help me at the moment? But it's always that, the gift of giving, isn't it? Hopefully one day you get it back. But I think your content needs to be about giving, doesn't it?
I think in reality, as Matt rightly says, there's never been a better time for us as a business. Not obviously in the current climate with the COVID-19 crisis, but that is conversely, highlighting inadequacies in people's marketing strategy. If you are a business that doesn't have video content, and you now can't get hold of someone on the phone, but someone is either thinking about doing business with you now or in the future, they don't really have that window into your service or your product.
Yeah.
Video gives you a snapshot of a service or product that can be easily digestible in 1 or 2 minutes, so people get a real idea and handle on, what you are, how you are, and your business. And more importantly, I think now more than ever, particularly with the advent of online marketing and online shopping, there are big faceless corporations like eBay and Amazon, and we use them because it's easy and it's convenient. But that's for commodity. If you were going to buy a service or you're going to buy a very specialized product, you're going to find a smaller supplier or a small to medium-sized business to do that. And if you don't put your face to your brand and put your actual face to your brand, so you become a real tangible human being, then you're missing a trick. Matt and I call it empty shop syndrome. So we always use an adage of a high value item. So if you were going to go out and buy yourself a Rolex, for example, I'd encourage you to go to MD Jewelers on Westgate and see my good friend James if you are. But if you're not, if you walk into Beaverbrook's with, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 quid, 5,000 quid, a lot of money, and there's nobody there to serve you, you'll turn around, walk out, go over to Goldsmiths, where you'll be greeted by a nice young man or young lady who'll say, "How can I help you, sir?" And having no video content on your website, having no video content on your social channels or on your homepage is effectively like having someone walk into an empty shop. There is literally no one to greet them. And by not greeting them, you're likely to lose the sale. If you look at some of the greatest salespeople, not that I agree with his politics, particularly Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, he says that you've got between 3 and 5 seconds to hook somebody before you've lost them. Between 3 and 5 seconds. Now, if your first 5 seconds is a video on your website that goes, or some great, some great visuals where people go, "Christ, that looks like an amazing product," or "Those guys look really nice," that they look like the sort of people I'd like to do business with, then you're already halfway there. Yeah. One of our biggest assets is being honest and being decent and open human beings. The reason we get most of our business is we do very little marketing that we pay for, very, very little at all. In fact, I don't think we paid for any advertising ever as a business. We operate pretty much on almost 100% referral rate. And that's because people like doing business with people they like, and more importantly, they like doing business with people that they trust.
Yes.
In order to build trust, you must put yourself into your brand.
Yeah. Tony, you must find this. There must be people that meet you on a valuation or viewing or whatever it is that you've never met before. They almost feel like they quite know you well because they've faced video so many times. And
I think for me, the video journey for me started about 4 or 5 years ago. Just doing something very, very, very raw and just trying to do something different. And I think what always amazes me is that people don't embrace the opportunity that's in front of them for not a lot of money. And I found that, you walk down the high street and people say hello. I've had people apologise because they say, "I feel like I know you." So it definitely breaks down barriers. I think once you get into that circle of the know, like and trust, because you can see that person, they're often visual, they're often there, they're often putting something out there. I think you can start to build relationships before you've even, like you said, shook their hand. And I think that's a really powerful thing. We've never had it better to be able to do that than we have right now. But obviously this is where companies like yourself can come in and really sort of put a sharp, polished, high quality finish to anybody's social media content they're looking to produce.
Yeah, we're looking to start a new sort of locally focused project once we get back to work post lockdown. Hopefully soon. We're looking to launch a sort of inexpensive kind of entry to video for Grantham businesses. It's called Filming. We've called it Filming 31 with the NG31 at the end. And the idea is that we'll come and produce a walkthrough or a variety of different bits and pieces. We've got a playlist on our YouTube channel of the sort of content, for around between 250 and 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So real sort of entry level cost for video, high quality video, high quality visuals, that will hopefully, once we're through this, will put you back, on the map.
Yeah.
Give you something really sharp to throw out to your client base.
Yeah, and really local, isn't it? Really Grantham centric, isn't it? Absolutely all about. Yeah, well, indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say, we feel like as human beings, not just during this time, but because Grantham's been so good to Chris and I, that we genuinely want to. I mean, we do charity work. We film the beer festival at the St Wulfram's church every year for free for Father Stuart, Cradduck, and a couple of other sort of like Christmas incentives with the Disabled Children's Society. But that aside, we genuinely feel, and Chris mentioned it earlier about employing local people, that we joke that we want to be Grantham's Google, but like in terms of like actually being part of the community, that is one of our business aims, is to be embedded in Grantham. And okay, maybe people don't use us and they use someone from Nottingham or whatever it is, but we want to extend that offer to maybe someone who doesn't think they can necessarily afford it, or they're just not got the face for video, when actually everyone should have their face on video. It's a fear thing, but Tony, you must have seen an upshoot in business because your face is on video, and obviously the company you work for is pretty famous in Grantham anyway. But it's just it's one of those things. I mean, you mentioned it just before, Tony. It's like it's never been easier and it's never been cheaper. Everyone's got one of these in their pocket, and it films. So and
decent quality out of one of those as well, isn't it? It's not like you have to go out and get lots and lots of expensive equipment. If you do choose to sort of go on your own path and have a go at it yourselves.
Oh, sure. And always
so,
happy to help.
So just coming back a little bit, so obviously the local area, I mean, you guys have been in and around Grantham now for a long time. What's the one thing you guys would change, or the one thing you guys wouldn't change?
I would not change Watkins because... Okay, it's just, I mean, I can't believe as a business model they haven't put their prices up over the years, because it's unbelievable. They've got queues out the door every Saturday, and that's possibly part of the reason. The prices are so reasonable. Like other things I wouldn't change would be just the parks. I mean, like everyone's been getting out for their half an hour exercise recently, and I'm Hooton Road end of town, and we walked all the way down the river to Queen Elizabeth Park with a big peg, and people are saying hello. And then you'd have thought in a lockdown period people would be a bit wary of being near people, which they rightly are, but it's just the sun's out, you've got the groundskeeper there planting some new daisies or some begonias or whatever they're doing, but it's just such a beautiful town. So I'd hate to see, I know it's got to be with sort of advancement, but I'd hate to see a lot of high-rise flats sort of pop up in and around Grantham, because okay, there's a new estate at the top of Spittlegate Level that's come in and stuff like that, but I think to keep the essence of the town and maybe increase the market eventually over time, that would be something I wouldn't change for sure.
I think we're a little bit. I think those who live locally often knock the town, but it's when you look closely and you look at the Queen Elizabeth Parks, the Wyndham Parks, the Dysart Parks, lots of wonderful, long-standing independent businesses which are still operating now, like Watkins. And just to add to that, I always feel like when I walk out of Watkins, I've robbed the place because I've got a bag full of goodies, and I don't feel like I've given them enough money. But I think as those who are sort of in the town, there's often a little bit of a knock effect. But actually, when you take a good close look at it, then you go a little bit further out, you look at Belton House, you've got Harlaxton Manor and Belvoir Castle, Grimsthorpe. There's so much on our doorstep that we take for granted.
Tony, there isn't very much at all that I would change about Grantham. I think that from its people, the community spirit, particularly now, and the way that people have responded to this current crisis, looking after, you know, the sick, the elderly, the vulnerable, their communities, our street particularly, you know, in central Grantham, but also its schools, its parks, you know, its open spaces, the local authority. I mean, I used to work for them a few years ago. The way that they've handled handing out grants for small business, the way that they've the guys who are continuing to collect the bins, you know, the benefits assessors, the advisors, all of those people that are continuing to work for the good of their community. Now, we are so fortunate to be placed where we are, with great parks, great schools, you know, a low crime rate, you know, fantastic community, good air quality, access to, you know, other parts of the country through access through the A1 and the East Coast Main Line. You know, we've got history, we've got St Wulfram's, which is incredible facility.
Yeah.
You know, the Guildhall. I mean, we are blessed, really. And I think it's very easy, I think, often to deride a place for its failings. But I think particularly now, we need to appreciate all of the quality things that Grantham has to offer, both for its people and for its business.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've got one little teasing question now. So let's just imagine the day has come. We are now allowed out of our doors and further than the end of the driveway. We'll start with you, Matt. What is your first day of freedom look like? Where will you go? Who will you see? Where will you visit?
Well, it's going to be a pretty busy day because me and the missus have already planned this. But so we've got, my mum and dad always used to be in Grantham. They're in Bingham now. So first stop would be an early train over to Bingham because we're going to have a glass of wine with them. Depending on what time we can get over there. But then my girlfriend's family are all based up on the new estate, Barbershop Edge type way. And we've just had some legendary barbecue / family parties. They've got 3 children. We've got a little one. And it's just a real nice family mix. And I think I'd actually probably sack off the pub with my mates over just really getting back to being with the family for a day or two. Yeah. To the point where everyone annoys each other and then you can go and see your friends. Yeah. But I think it'd definitely be that. And then maybe just walking somewhere where you maybe going to the shop to buy one ice lolly just because you're allowed to now, as opposed to going once a week to do your main shop. Yeah. So I think start slow with family and then start maybe travelling the country to see friends and other family, I guess. Yeah.
What about yourself, Chris?
Well, you didn't mention seeing me, which is a bit disappointing.
Hey, your family.
No, I think for us, you know, like Matt, you know, we've got young children. We've been trying to get out in a social distancing way as much as possible. But I think, you know, just being able to take them like to the seaside or, you know, to the cinema or, you know, to have a day out with the children, not in Grantham, you know, or within a mile of our house. Would be good. Obviously, we've been doing all the shopping for our elderly parents, but have had to have that weird Mexican standoff where you drop the shopping and take 2 paces back. So I'm quite looking forward to giving my mum a big hug at the end of all this and being able to shake my dad's hand at least. You know, I'm also missing my brothers desperately. One of them's in Belgium. He should have come back for Easter, but obviously couldn't. And my other brother lives in Nottingham. And he's been he's been locked down there, you know, in Nottingham. So, like Matt, I think family first, and I think this crisis has really thrown up, you know, as well as all the positives. You know, it's really shown up what is of value and what is important. I think, you know, family first, really, and then, you know, and then friends after. But I would see Matt before I went out to see them, just to give him a bit of a high five.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Maybe. For being completely honest, Tony, there's definitely at least a quick beer in there somewhere for all of us.
Yeah, got to be, hasn't there? Got to be. I think my day looks like, first and foremost, got to see my barber, Mr. Patrick Harland of Dads and Lads over in Sleaford, get him to sort out the front. I considered having a corona cut by the missus, but I've held off for the time being. Yeah, that's the face I pulled, Chris. That's exactly the face I pulled. I think from there on, then
there's a reason why we go to the barbers.
Yeah, there is. Definitely.
There's a reason why we see James at number 95 or Gene.
Yeah, indeed. I'll then head back to town. I think I've got to have a few frames of pool with a few mates at somewhere like Hunters, because I like the place in there, decent beer, you get a nice snack in there, probably head into town, nip into the Chequers, I think probably calling at the Eden, and then maybe as you get onto the evening, you sort of head down towards the Goose, further on to maybe into the other bars like the King's Arms, and I reckon then a nice Indian either at Everest or Bombay Brasserie for me is
nice.
that would be my sort of, I've done the family thing, right? You're back in with your mates. The first thing you can do is give them a bloody great big hug, because I think when you meet your mates, it's all right giving them a high five or handshake, but actually I think this has probably taught us that sometimes human to human contact is pretty damn special between mates.
This has been difficult for me because, as Matt will tell you, I'm a hugger. So when social distancing became a thing, it was quite awkward for me.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that throws an arm around his mate when he's having a bad one, or gives him a big hug or a massive high five because we've had a real win. So it's been tough. And and particularly like with the guys from Grantham RoundTable, because I'm the chairman now of Grantham RoundTable for 2020, which is a shit year to get on with so far. But it's seeing those guys will be great. In that group of lads, and hopefully getting out and doing some good community work with them this year will be good too. But also, you missed out Eddie at the Nobody.
Well,
that's a bold move. That's a bold move.
The problem with going into the Nobody and seeing Eddie is it usually results in a blooming great big hangover the following morning, doesn't it? But he's right next to Hunters, so pop in there whilst he's at Hunters. He's
been redoing it. I mean, I'd encourage everyone to go and see what he's done with the place, because he's done all the floors and oiled them all and everything. He's had a right productive lockdown.
He certainly has.
He'll be like a new boozer.
He certainly has, even though his Facebook status is often tagging him out in different countries like Las Vegas and places like that. Oh, listen, guys, thank you very much, Matt and Chris, for your time today. It has been fantastic to just get together and have a chat. And I think the fact that we've been recording, it's kind of gone by the by. It's almost been like a chat down the pub. You certainly have, I think, added something to become part of the Great and Good of Grantham, but also make others the part of the Great and Good of Grantham as well. I hope everything goes well for you both over the course of the coming weeks and months with you and your families. And I wish you all the very best.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks a million. And,
when you do that pub crawl around town, Tony, we'll join you. And the only spot you probably missed out was Grantham Charcoal Grill for Eddie Chicken Durham. So
I get you. Sounds brilliant to me. I'll be there. The green card is stamped already. All right. Cheers, guys.
Take care. Cheers, Tony. Bye.
Bye-bye.